what if you don't have the right words, right?
Yeah.
And you feel like you're trying to ask the right question, but you get yourself in trouble because it's not framed right. Like how do you deal with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, that's such a great question, and certainly something right now in this time, especially in our country right now, that around race, around gender, diversity, so many people are walking on eggshells. They're afraid to make a mistake, and it actually works against us, right? In trying to problem solve and trying to
Mm-hmm,
move
mm-hmm.
forward. It stops the conversations as opposed to increasing the conversations, which is what we need to have right now. And so I think that's a great point is, what do we do about that? And so many men in both books, the interviews we did, told us that this is one of the things that, hey, I'm all about diversity. I'm all about inclusion and equity. And okay, but what are you doing? Well, I'm not doing a whole lot because I'm really afraid to make a mistake. I'm really afraid that I'm going to stick my foot right in my mouth and start chewing on it here at this point. And you know what? The reality is that all of us do that. We're all going to do that along the way. And we've gotten to the point where we need just a little more grace with each other, and being able to understand good intentions, and being able to provide, and have a civil dialogue about this. And people make mistakes, and that's how you learn, right? And we're going to do that along the way. I'm not perfect. I'm just another bumbling dude out there trying to get it right and trying to be better every single day. And once I can accept that imperfection, that somewhere along the way today I'm going to mess it up. And Alex is going to have to deal with it here. It's okay. Alex he's going to have a little grace with me, and we're going to get through this together. And you know what? The world's not going to end. Life's not going to end right here today. We're going to be better at the end of it. But until we can get to that point where we can accept that we can have a little imperfection, it's really hard to do. The key element in all this, just like any relationship, is really, how do you develop that relationship to the point where you have trust, right? Where we can have that. We've got to have enough trust to be able to ask those questions, and to have a conversation out there. And we heard this, over and over again since last summer with the George Floyd murder in particular, around the kind of racial tension and awakening, we're having in this country, that, gosh, it's not okay just because you have a black friend or a black colleague, to just go start asking them questions about, hey, what's going on in your world out there, and why isn't it working for you? And it's not okay to do that, right? That you're just putting it back on others to educate you. No, that just shows that you have the privilege to be able to do that. You got to first take ownership of it. As an ally, you need to go self-educate. And they need to come listen to this podcast, and they need to go read a good book, and they need to go listen to a webinar, and listen. Just listen to understand. And I think that is the first step, right? In building that empathy, right? Is if we can listen to understand, and then begin to look around and observe and go, what are the places around here where I see the connections to that, and that I can make a difference in my world, and then develop the relationships with the trust with your colleagues, so that you can have these kind of conversations. Because until you get to that point, you have enough, again, trust in your relationships, it's really hard to move forward.
Well, first of all, actually, you reminded me. Everyone who's listening, please don't be mad at me. Earlier, when I was like this stuff, researching this stuff, I was just joking. I don't want to get canceled. So, and I do want to say, I want to appreciate you making that point about the questions. I myself, I used to be a huge proponent of having those difficult conversations, because that's how you learn. Um, and so when after George Floyd happened, I allowed myself to be open for any questions, right? And it got to a point where I was like, no, I can't keep talking about this. It was really draining. It was hard. Found myself getting annoyed and upset. I'm like, why are you asking me this? Here's a book. Like, here, go read this book. And so I appreciate you bringing that up. Like, guys just can't just go walk up. Hey, what is it like? Like, do some research, do your homework, and show that you've even tried to. Like, I appreciate that.
Well, yeah, thank you. And I try to walk that talk every day too. And I think for some of us, especially as academics, that comes a little easier because that's just kind of part of the job for us as well. But even as academics, we still have to do that for ourselves. I can tell you that I remember back in, gosh, it was like October in the fall when Harvard Business Review came to me and Brad and asked us they said, hey, we want you to write an article in the magazine coming up, the next issue, that talks about allyship, but we want you to talk about it from a race intersectional perspective around gender and race. So about women of color. So what should white men be doing to be better allies to women of color? And we're like, wow, okay, appreciate this, but we need some help. And so we reached out to a couple of our female colleagues who were women of color who were experts in race, and partnered with them to write this article. And it was so much fun, and we learned so much along the way together, just thinking about our work with their work. And what was really clear, when they came to us, they said, okay, we need you guys to do some of the practical application part around allyship with this. And so they said, hey, go back to your research and look at all the tactical everyday actions and strategies that you had in the book, and how do they apply here? How can you translate, can you convert that, so to speak, right into this article? And as it turned out, almost everything around allyship translates so very neatly. And of course, allyship's been around for a long time. I mean, it started in the LGBT community, and then more focus on race, and now much more on gender. And so now much more of an intersectional focus as well, which I think is great to finally get to that conversation. But yeah, it was great to finally get out there and to talk about this more broadly, not just in a very narrow sense.
Well, I'm not going to ask you to share all your secrets, and I want everyone to go out and buy the two books. One is Good Guys: How Men Can Be Better Allies for Women in the Workplace, and the other is Athena Rising. Correct?
Correct. How and Why Men Should Mentor Women.
So, everyone, push pause. Go buy those. Now that you're back, okay, cool. We'll keep going. I did have. Would you speak just a little more on that? Like, were there any specific things that you found to be helpful in regards to allyship for white men to African American women that you found to be unique?
Yeah, and so one of the things, and this came out in our research for Good Guys.
Hello, everyone. This is Alex Tremble from GPS Leadership Solutions, and if you found this last interview to be awesome, spectacular, and actually you benefited from it, let me tell you, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Visit the alextремbleshow.com, information below in the description, and that's where you'll find the full uninterrupted interview. And I'm telling you, there's so much great content you'll hear from this past leader, as well as all the other leaders we've already interviewed. So remember, don't just look back, reach back. If there's someone who you think will benefit from this interview or any of the other interviews, make sure you share it with them. Click the like, click the subscribe, and as I always like to end all my sessions, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving.